Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into The Culture Code, a fantastic book that really gets to the heart of what makes highly successful groups tick. And we're starting with the absolute foundation, how they build safety. All right, to kick things off, let's look at a really simple challenge. Imagine this. You've got a team, and their only job is to build the tallest tower they possibly can using just 26 of spaghetti, a little tape, some string, and a single marshmallow, which has to sit right on top. So who are our teams? Well, on one side, you've got your classic business school students. You know the type. They're all about strategy, analyzing options, figuring out who the leader is. Super professional. And then you've got the kindergartners. And it's exactly what you'd expect. Pure chaos. They're not really talking, they're just grabbing stuff and building. So, who do you think wins? I mean, it seems obvious, right? Wrong. It's not even a competition. Over and over again, in dozens of these trials, the little kids absolutely demolish the business students. We're talking towers that are almost 3 times as high. It's wild. So what is going on here? It's not that the kindergartners are secretly engineering geniuses. The big takeaway is that we always think it's about individual smarts, but it's not. The kids win because of how they work together. They're not wasting time on status games, they're just collaborating, experimenting, and helping each other out. And that little spaghetti tower challenge? That's actually the starting point for Daniel Coyle's The Culture Code. So for this explainer, we're going to zoom in on the very first and maybe most important skill he talks about, how the best teams on the planet build this deep foundation of safety. So how does this all work? Is it just magic? Some kind of special vibe? Well, no. It turns out it's actually chemistry. It's all about how our brains react to certain signals. And there's this really cool experiment that gets right to the heart of it. The question is simple. What happens when you drop one bad apple into a perfectly good team? Okay, so a researcher puts this actor, let's call him Nick, into a bunch of different groups. And Nick's job is to be a total pain, either a jerk, a slacker, or a real downer. And guess what? He consistently tanks the group's performance by a lot, like 30 to 40%. But there was this one group that was completely immune to him. And the reason? One guy, a good apple, who just through his actions managed to make the whole environment feel safe, totally diffusing the bad apple's negativity. And that right there perfectly captures the big idea. Safety isn't some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It's the literal foundation for high performance. So the big question is, how did he do it? What exactly was this good apple doing? What were the signals he was sending out? Well, the answer comes down to something researchers call belonging cues. Think about it. These are all the little signals we're constantly sending and receiving. Things like eye contact, how we listen, our body language. They're the things that answer a really ancient question in our brains. Are we safe here? The good apple was just a natural at sending out all the right ones. And it turns out these cues aren't just random. They almost always have 3 key things in common. First, there's energy. You're actually invested in the conversation. Second, there's individualization. You're seeing the other person as unique and valuable. And third, there's this sense of a future. You're signaling that this relationship is going to continue. Put it all together, and the message is loud and clear. You are safe here. All right, so that's the science, right? But what's really fascinating is to see how this whole dynamic plays out in the real world. So let's look at a tale of 2 completely different, super high-stakes cultures, and you'll see just how big a difference safety can make. Let's head back to 2002. Google's new ad platform, AdWords, it was a disaster. The founder, Larry Page, got so fed up that he literally printed out some of the worst examples, wrote "These ads suck" on it, and slapped it on a bulletin board in the kitchen. Now, an engineer named Jeff Dean, who didn't even work on that team, saw the note. He just decided to fix it. He worked all weekend, and by Monday morning, boom, he'd emailed the solution that would go on to make Google billions and billions of dollars. You know what's crazy? Years later, when people asked Jeff Dean about this now legendary moment, he could barely even remember it. And why is that? Because in the culture Google had built, one of really intense but safe debate, this kind of thing was just normal. It was completely safe to step up and take that kind of risk. I mean, that story just shows you the incredible power of a safe culture. But what happens when safety is completely gone? Well, the results can be just as powerful, but in a totally destructive way.
For a stark contrast, just look at the U.S. Air Force missilers. These are the folks who control America's nuclear arsenal. For a long time, their culture was an absolute mess. We're talking burnout, rule breaking, even cheating on proficiency tests. And leadership's response? They just cracked down harder, said it was a discipline problem. But the real problem was the environment. It was totally drained of any belonging cues. There was no connection, no sense of a future, and definitely no safety.
And when you put these two cultures side by side, the difference is just night and day. Google's culture was all about connection, a shared future, and the safety to fail and challenge things. The missilers' world, it was built on isolation, feeling like you're at a dead end, and a constant fear that one tiny mistake would mean punishment. One culture thrives, the other just crumbles from the inside. Okay, so if safety is this important, how in the world do you actually build it? And let's be clear, this isn't about being soft or trying to avoid conflict. Actually, one of the best examples of this comes from one of the most demanding coaches in all of sports, Greg Popovich. If you follow basketball, you know the name. He's the coach of the San Antonio Spurs and, statistically, the most successful coach in modern American sports history. His teams are famous for playing this beautiful, selfless, connected game. And his secret? He boils it down to a simple phrase: hug 'em and hold 'em. Now, don't get me wrong, this guy is not soft. He's famous for yelling and being incredibly demanding. But here's the key. All that tough feedback lands because it's built on a rock-solid foundation of personal connection. He actually talks to his players about their lives, about politics, about their families, anything but basketball. He builds real relationships first. He earns the trust, and then he can deliver the hard truths. And that foundation makes a very specific kind of feedback possible. And this leads us to this incredibly powerful tool that researchers discovered. They call it magical feedback, and it's this one simple 19-word sentence. Take a look. I'm giving you these comments because I have very high expectations and I know that you can reach them. When they tested this on students, it had a massive impact on how much effort they put in and how well they did. So why is that one sentence so powerful? Well, it's because it's like a perfect little package of belonging cues. It does three things all at once. Signal number one, you're part of this group. Signal number two, this group is special. We have really high standards here. And signal number three, I believe you have what it takes to meet those standards. See? It's that perfect mix of connection and high expectations. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's that building a great culture isn't some kind of mysterious magic. It's a skill. It's about deliberately sending these small but powerful signals that create connection and prove to people that they're safe. It's not about being nice. It's about being safe enough to be honest, to take risks, and to push each other to do amazing things. So the question to leave you with is this: what's one small signal you can send to start building that safety in your group today?